tervist, minu nimi on Aleksander Eeri Laupmaa ja vaatate Fotografiska jutusid. Kuna minu tänane külaline eesti keelt ei oska, siis lülitun ümber inglise keelele. Welcome to Fotografiska Talks, Nadine Barth.
Hello.
Yes.
Nice to be here.
And I also already pronounced your name incorrectly. Can you say it one more time for us?
Nadine Barth.
And where is that last name from?
Well, I'm German, so
Okay.
it should be from there.
Wonderful. So let's talk about Miles Aldridge.
Yes.
How did you come to know of him, and what drew you to his work?
Actually, I got to know him because I was working on a big beauty exhibition way back in 2008. It was on display in Hamburg. And he was one of 50 photographers that I chose from the field of fashion photography, men and women. And I just, took the best fashion photographers at that time and asked them if they wanted to participate. So we had David LaChapelle in it, and Bruce Weber and Albert Watson. So the whole big bunch of fashion photographers. And he was kind of not well known at that time, but I was struck by his artificial fashion surrealism, and we thought about what he was going to show, because everybody had the chance to show 5 images, and he came up with a series I didn't like at all, and I found that really not too nice for women, sort of. So we ended up, he proposed another one, and we ended up having the homework series, which is also shown here at Fotografiska, the whole series. The woman lighting up the cigarette on a gas flame.
Yeah. The name of the exhibition, what is it? Lady Mary, Popcorn and Superstars? Well,
Virgin Mary.
Virgin Mary.
Supermarkets.
Popcorn. Okay. So what's the true line between those things?
Well, it's the 3 things that are very typical for Miles's work. The Virgin Mary, the religious part, where he founds those, Mary figure in an ecstatic way, or works on her being also a fashion icon. And the supermarkets stand for his criticism or documentation of consumerism. And the last one, Popcorn, is pop. It's he comes from a pop family. I don't know if you know that his father was Alan Aldridge, and he was an illustrator way back, and he did all those great covers we still love, like Strawberry Fields Forever and stuff like that. So he grew up with this pop, and pop was a very big part of his upcoming, and also is very essential for his work.
The works you mentioned beforehand that you didn't like, and you said they were derogatory towards women, or
yes, there's always a fine line between the documentation of the roles of women, and when it comes to men dominating women, I as a woman, I don't really like that. So I know that some of his works show that, and the whole thing portraying women who kind of look almost dead, or not emotional, or like washed out. This is something I find interesting, but when it comes to sexual harassment, I'm out. So I need to draw that line, and there are some series which go in that direction, but most of them aren't.
How would you describe like the atmosphere, or like what is it that we see on most of those works where you have that lady lighting the cigarette, or that lady like on the ground with the food? Like all of the women in the works, they have this kind of feeling of giving up, kind of, or something. Like they're very fancy. Like the way that I would describe it in the shortest way is like that they thought that they were living in the American dream, and then they realized that it's a nightmare. Like that would be that. This is the first thing that I see. How would you describe that feeling with all those colors and yet that tragedy that lies within?
Yes, he's pointing out his finger in the wound. It is actually sometimes a nightmare. And he sometimes describes also living in the suburbs and the cruel situation of a family that might not be happy and things that fell down, like milk or the ketchup or something like that. That is a storytelling that draws us to this dark moments in a family that seems happy, but behind, there's like, ooh, you get afraid. But in doing that, and also using the colorful setups or the fashion and style moments, he kind of over exaggerates it. So we have a hyper realistic image there, which reflects reality, but it's not reality at all. But maybe there's more truth in that than if he would have, just photographed a family sitting on the breakfast table and talking or not talking to each other.
How do you interpret the works that mimic icons of Lady Mary, for example? Again, is it something that is meant, how can I say it? Is it something that is trying to show how in our culture right now, even things that are supposed to be sacred are sexualized maybe, or seen in a very materialistic way again, in a very objectified way? Or is it just him not caring about, I don't know, Christian values, and that's why he feels like that is okay to do?
He knows exactly what he's doing. That makes him so special. Every little detail he really cares about. And he does a lot of research before he starts to make a picture. He draws sketches and thinks about it. He reads a lot. His library is huge. So whenever he starts to work on an idea, it's not that he doesn't care about it, and especially about religion. He knows exactly what's going on there. But in showing a Mary that has feelings, has a passion, or does something that is not meant to be in a story of the sacred
Virgin feminine, yeah,
cosmos. It's something really interesting that happens. It's like you see Mary as a figure in a totally different way. You're like, oh, I always thought, yeah, she's somebody in love, but there's also passion, or could be passion. It's something that is interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm. But if somebody would say that they feel that this is maybe like a bit blasphemous towards their religion, what would you say to that?
Yes, I'm positive that there might be people out there who feel offended by those images. But art is like that.
But for people who are offended by any type of art, let's say, how would you teach them to see art from a different perspective, or to understand it in a way that the art is not meant to attack them and it's not meant to, I don't know, offend them?
Well, it's not on me to teach somebody.
But if you could, how would you do that?
So everybody should find out what art means to him or her. And of course, there are art schools, or you can teach the history of art. I teach workshops in how to make art books. You can teach those things, but in the end, a person stands in front of an artwork, and then everything is gone. You have to see: is this artwork something that interests me? Does it speak to me? can I think something about this art piece? Those are the interesting questions. It's nothing that you can teach.
What makes a good art book?
Well,
Or what makes a bad art book?
To me, the content and the form should work together. So there is one way to show a series of work. And you can do it in a way that the series is not shown good, shown well. So, for example, if you have a portrait book and you have many things to see on the book, like also many things at Miles Aldridge as images, and you put it you make it really small, then it would not be the right way. So I would say this is not a good art book because it doesn't understand what kind of images are in it.
Okay. Do you think that art, especially visual art, is it made better if it has like a description next to it about what it is and what it's trying to say and what it's trying to do and refer to? Or is art best when you have nothing next to it? You have no explanation of its direction. You just see the work and you have to be physically or emotionally moved by it.
Well, I love it when artworks are there without any explanation and you can still understand it or it speaks to you. But on the second thought, I find it valuable to read about it and to understand what the artist wanted to, we to understand.
When was the first time when you realized that you like art? Or when was the first time as a child, maybe, when you were moved by a piece of art? It can be, it doesn't have to be visual art.
I grew up with art. My father took me to every exhibition opening. I had a camera when I was young. In school, I was the school photographer. So art was always there.
But can you remember like a first artist that maybe you admired or somebody that you looked up to as a child, except for your father, of course?
Well, I believe I'm from Hamburg, and we have in the Hamburg Kunsthalle there's one piece of Caspar David Friedrich, the Eisschollen. It's called in German. So it's they're over one each other, and it's something nature that is so strong and powerful, and I think this is must be one of the first art works actually that I remember seeing in a museum and always going back to it and finding it like, ooh, there's a little this is so incredible. This is so powerful.
Do you think this is what like the ultimate purpose of art should be? Should it be to like raise us in some way? Because there is a lot of art that can be very provocative, but it can make us feel sick. And there is a lot of art that is very beautiful and that can make us feel powerful like that. Is there like a hierarchy of what art should strive towards, or is it like completely it's all equal?
That's an interesting question, but I believe art can be on so many different levels and can work on many different levels. And you have to take into consideration there's also an artist, and the art that this artist creates speaks to him first. So it's the viewer is a second level. So there are many artists. I mean, think about Van Gogh, who didn't produce for an audience, who produced for himself. So we have to see that too. I mean, everybody can be an artist and is an artist. If you look at nowadays world, everybody is creating something, and that's important and that's good.
Yeah. Okay. if you, let's say you have a problem in a society, for example, something like Miles Aldridge is referring to with that the dying of the American dream, let's say, for lack of a better term. If you have something better, you can describe it in a better way. But let's say you have an issue. It can be societal, it can be emotional, it can be physical, whatever there is. And an artist is feeling that, and they're portraying that, whether it's with the photo or painting, music, whatever. Then where is the line between shining a light on a problem that then people can see and do something about or feel something new, versus actually helping to make the problem worse, like celebrating the problem, if you see, understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but this is like a very complex field. It's about
That's why I'm
what.
asking you.
Yeah, but it's not about art. This is a question about humankind. What do you do, and what impact does it have on society? And so don't take art for that. I mean, it's like everybody needs to think about the actions he or she is taking on. So I wouldn't bring it down to art.
Okay, but I'm not gonna leave it at that, because I feel like we can find something from here. But still, what I'm trying to get is that even if somebody can portray something, and they can do it in a way that that is just like neutrally portraying whatever it is that they feel or that they see. But you can also do it in a way that you try to propagate some sort of an idea. Or let's say like the Caspar David Friedrich example that you mentioned before. This is something that raised you up, right? Because probably he felt something, he portrayed it, and it lifted you up. But then you can have something that when somebody is feeling absolutely horrific, whether they've experienced something, maybe they have hate towards some person, whatever it is, and they portray that. And then you look at it, and it does like that with you. Is there anything where you find that art can be, how can I say it, like immoral in that way, that it's that it has a negative impact on human beings?
That might be, but I wouldn't know something to. I mean, I don't know.
But the example, for example, that you talked about in the beginning, like the works that you said by Miles that you didn't like. Like if works like that are shown somewhere publicly, would you feel that this is something that maybe you would be happier if it wasn't done? Or do you feel
Yes.
that? Or do you feel
and
that?
if I'm the curator, I can work on having them out of the
Okay,
exhibition. And they're not in this exhibition.
Okay, but then let's say you have whether it's children or young people that can see that that sort of thing. Would you say that this has a negative impact on them?
It can have a negative impact, sure. But look at social media and the negative impact that has, or war plays. You can find so many things with negative impacts.
Okay, but then
I can't follow your
no. I'm
taking the art
no.
as responsible for
I'm not saying that.
something.
I just want to. I
like
just
that.
want to know what you feel about that. That I don't have an agenda. I just want to know what. But because let's for example say that you have somebody that that wants to I don't know, portray a lot of violence, and it can be towards whatever group that you can imagine. Like, would you? Let's say somebody comes to you, like Miles did. He comes to you with something, and you say, like, I really don't like that.
And I talked to him, and I explained it to him that's I don't see this in the exhibition, and those are the reasons. And then he said, okay, I come up with another idea. So you have to talk to the people. But okay, I follow you in a certain way. This is a question about does art have to be art, do artists have to be work in politics or not? Is art political? And we had this big discussion in Germany during the Documenta, where you had works that were shown, and they had anti-Semitic things in it. And people didn't see it. The curators didn't see it or didn't want it to see. So I also believe that there should be a critical view on art, and that you have to take consequences, like I did in a very small field, and others should do it in like big happenings like the Documenta.
Okay, so one example that I have of that, we have Andre Serrano's exhibition upstairs.
Yes.
And there is a photograph there of a black man who was lynched. And the Fotografiska New York, they wouldn't put that up, and they didn't. And here we did put that up. Like with something like that, again, this is also one of the reasons why I'm asking that question is like, how do we know, or when do we know, where is the line that we see something ugly, we see something horrible, we see something that nobody wants to happen to anyone, but the value of showing it and letting people know about it and making us think and feel about it is more important than the offense that we feel by looking at it.
Yes, maybe it's a way to write something next to it, to make people understand that there is an issue or could be an issue. Maybe that's a way. Other than that, I also follow you that maybe censorship is not the solution. But on the other hand, I think sometimes it's necessary.
Well, again, I see, because I don't have the right answers. That's why I'm asking you. Because, for example, if I had like a 8-year-old sister, I wouldn't take her to see that.
No.
A grown-up, I'm happy with a grown-up seeing it. But if my sister was 8 years old, I would say no, we're not going there. Yeah. So and it's so difficult because
does it have a sign? This is explicit, or
well, no.
Maybe not good for children?
There are descriptions like throughout the exhibition about contents, and also there is a black curtain in front of the parts where you have the most unacceptable photos, let's say.
See, so we work around that.
Yeah. Okay. Throughout your lifetime, what would you say have been the biggest, I don't know if controversies is the right word, but let's say in your home country, the things that people have to, again, battle out over art, like you said, the example about the anti-Semitic things. And have there been things that have gone in an opposite way than what you would have expected? And for example, to make the question a bit simpler, do you think that we have become like more tolerant or less tolerant over the past, I don't know, 20, 30 years?
We have become more tolerant because the intimacy that is not there anymore. That's like after the social media exposure, everybody is showing everything. There is no really line anymore between the privacy and the public world. So this fell for sure. On the other hand, there's also the contrary going on, like in the 70s when everybody, free love and stuff like that experienced, that went back a little bit. So I believe that, for example, the wording in what we have all over the world, that now the question of gender is very important. So you have to take care of what you say, he, she, diverse, all the labels we have there, or the or the persons. And I think it's wonderful that they are seen now and have names that we call out, but it was not that before. So we have the two lines going. The one is the loss of the privacy, and the other is the attention of political correctness in spelling and in behaving. So those things changed for sure in the last 30 years, I would say.
How would you say that the impact of social media not having privacy anymore impacts artists, and does it impact their work? Because everything they do, it can have feedback so quickly. And do you feel it might be a danger that they fall prey to the wishes and wants to their audience, and they can't like follow their own muse anymore?
Well, I mean, all artists are a product of their time. In the like hundreds and hundreds years ago, what you would experience that time had an impact on the artist. Of course, social media has an impact on nowadays artists. I mean, not only while working with social media, but also like for galleries, like when there's an artist coming to them and listen, I want to be part of your gallery, they are like looking immediately at their Instagram account. So how many followers does he have? Oh, only 300? Now we better not take him. 30,000 is a number to start. So yes, it has an impact on different levels. Not only on
what do you think about that? Do you think that hurts art, or do you think there are good... because obviously what it shows is that they're either that the artist is a good salesman, let's say, or good at marketing and promoting himself or herself or theyself if they have a big following. But does it also translate into that being better art, or is there a danger that we're going to lose a lot of very promising artists because they get no chances because of that?
Yes, there's a danger, but that's how it is. I mean, we can't do anything about it.
So the only way to
I mean, look at history. The politicians that were able to work with the camera, the TV stars, they were more successful than the others. It's still like that. So it's just on another level.
If you would find a young artist who only has 250 Instagram followers and you would say like, okay, you're very promising, what would your advice to them be? Would you just say like, be better at promoting yourself?
Yeah, find an agency promote it. No, really, it's something that should be part of every artist's life, unless you make art that is really something very, very complex and complicated and only needs your own bubble. This art exists, and maybe those people don't need any audience that they create themselves. Then they need a gallery who protects them, and they don't even come to their own opening. Those characters exist, and of course they should be there. But others are disappointed that nobody really takes notice of them.
Do you think there are things about the world of art that most people misunderstand?
Yes, sure.
Can you give some examples?
I also don't understand all art. When I go over the Art Basel, the fair, every second stand, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Do you?
I mean, I look more to photography, of course, but yeah, maybe you should, have know more about the art piece, or dive deeper into that scene. But there are many things that I don't understand, but I don't have to.
But how would you compare photography to painting, let's say? Like, what if you would have to explain it to a 5-year-old like me, for example? Like, well, like, do you think that photography should be taken as seriously, for example, as painting?
Oh, yes, of course.
And why is that?
It's just the use of another medium. For paintings, you use some colors, some canvas or whatever. You can paint on paper or on aqua, whatever, or on wood. You can paint on many different things. And with photography, you have a machine that takes a photo of something that you want that the machine takes. So it's just something, a medium. That's it. And remember, Plato in the former times, he defined the image, the icon, as there are two different ways of seeing it. One is done by, the craftsman and whatever. It is something that was the former ideas. There was something, an image made after something real. And the other one is the reflection. It can be a natural image. You look in the mirror, you look in the water, and it mirrors you back. So you have a natural image and you have an artificial image already. So photography started to work with a natural image. And that was the big issue because people were afraid. It showed reality, but did it really show reality? And still, we are working on what reality is this photograph showing. But they didn't understand that from the very first beginning, photography was also art because the photographer chooses which part he shows. He chooses the lens. He chooses the angle of a photo. So it's not reality at all. Never. It's already a piece of art. So that's why I don't see a difference between photography and a painting.
Okay, that's very beautiful. Do you think that art has a practical purpose, even if it's just something that we look at? Is it practical? Do human beings need it to have a full
Yes,
life?
they always worked with that. Like imagine even before Plato in the Stone Age, when people didn't communicate with words, they communicated via images. They painted a big animal, on the wall, and showing the others, the fellows, listen, I hunted that animal, or I was afraid, I ran away, and whatever. So for the others, this painting was very important to understand what's out there, out of the cave. So we are now back, interesting enough, from after this image world to the written and the word world. We are now back to an image world with social media. So what the images are getting more important in our life. We communicate via images. We don't communicate via words. We too, yes, with this audience, but normally we could also communicate via images for a long, long time.
Do you feel there could be a way that artists could have a different way of communication with the audience, or a better way of communication? Again, talking about some art offending some people and some other art offending other people. Could there be a way that, like, I'm going to go and see something and it's completely offensive to me, but the art is made in a way that I realize, like, okay, he's not actually trying to attack me. This is what he's trying to show.
Yeah,
Can that ever happen?
Next step, you're answering with an image.
Yeah. How do you think? And this is a wild question, and I don't know if there is an answer to that. But let's say in 100 years or 200 years, what will this period in art be called? Because right now we have names and words for all the previous periods, yeah, because we can see them from here. What will this period be called 100 years from now, 200 years from now? What is going on?
It's a search for expression, I would say.
And
We don't know how to express ourselves. We are lost in this moment, and we need to find a way out of that. So it's maybe a age of insecureness. It's a way to, we try to stick to words. We try to stick to rules. We try to stick to so many things. But we need to let it go and really concentrate on our needs. And this is not happening right now. So I hope it will soon.
And when do you think that started? That not feeling our needs and trying to.
Well, the people from the history of communication would say with the start of the television, but I don't know. Well, I guess it started. It started when the consumerism was the main part of society, but probably already in the 1900th century, with the start of the industrialization.
How long do you think it will take us before it gets so bad that we have to find a way out?
Yeah, another 20, 30 years, I guess.
Yeah, you think
so?
Yeah. But do you think art?
But then the climate will be really bad, and I don't know if it's too late to do something then.
Do you think at that point art will become more unified again? If you understand what I mean, because what has happened for a long time is just that there is more and more fragmentation. People go off in all the kinds of different directions, but it feels like as this is happening, it's also much more difficult to communicate with your neighbors, because you have your life, they have their life, you have your wishes, they have their wishes, their art is completely different from your art, and so nobody understands each other anymore. So once we start to feel like, okay, this is too bad now, we have to find a unified way, will art also become a lot more unified?
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah.
Let's hope for that.
What do you think of real original Christian icons? Iconography. What is the, if you would take Miles Aldridge's version of the Virgin Mary,
Yes.
and if you would compare it to an icon of the Virgin Mary from the Orthodox Church, for example, what are those things trying to portray?
Yeah, I think icons are very important for people to think about something that they can glorify. So it can be anything as an icon. It doesn't have to be a religious symbol. I mean, we have many icons in the pop world also. So people love to have posters. I mean, you can buy posters here at Fotografiska a lot and have them on your wall, sort of an icon. People love musicians. Kids have posters of them on their wall. Sports, there are icons everywhere, and I think that's good. I mean, on the other hand, we have to understand what's behind this icon. Behind the Virgin Mary is the whole religious cosmos. Do I really want to dive into that? Behind, a boy group, there's a whole cosmos. Do I really want to know really what's going on there, or maybe not? So we have to be aware of what icons you are working with and what icons you want for your own life.
Do you see yourself as a religious person?
No.
No? A spiritual person?
Yes, spiritual in a way that I believe that there are some things in nature that can be, and I don't really need to question them. But I believe that you have to be aware of certain feelings in the cosmos, in the whole world. So I guess that makes me a spiritual person.
What do you think is the most dangerous form of art?
Dangerous for what?
Yeah, dangerous form of art.
Well, definitely not photography.
Okay. Are there any photographers that you find interesting right now that you feel like most people don't know about or haven't heard about that you would like to show to more people?
Oh, many. I mean, I work on so many book projects also. I was very happy to work on a young artist, Elisaveta Porodina. So I worked to make a book with her, and at the same time, Fotografiska Stockholm decided to make an exhibition. So I was very happy that those things came together nicely. And but there are so many artists out there.
I remembered also something that I wanted to ask you about, which was that at the exhibition upstairs, there is a photo of the Pope lying next to a naked woman.
Yes.
And basically being like towards her, like almost between her legs. How do you see a work of art like that? Like what is the artist trying to show here?
Well, you have to know this is a collaboration between Miles Aldridge and another artist named Maurizio Catalan. And it was in a show of Catalan in Paris. He invited Miles to work with him on sculptures that were exhibited there. And so they had the idea of having a naked muse walking around this exhibition and interacting with the sculptures of Catalan. So there are also other images where this naked woman is standing in front of other sculptures, and the Pope lying on the floor is one of the sculptures. So it's the actual woman, like a fashion person, stylized, and going into that setting, and it's a weird atmosphere that evolves out of that. I really kind of like this series because it brings so many layers to it. The work of one artist, the work of another artist, the collaboration, and all together, it's something very, very special. And I like to think about what was on their mind to create something like that. I don't find it offensive.
Okay. How do you think that being the child of an artist affected Miles? Like, is that something that can be a curse or a blessing on a child to have somebody who's already well known and to be of
he needed to step out of the shadow, of course. First, he started also to study illustration, and he at the St. Martin's school, but he found out very fast that this is not his path. So he started to work with music videos, and then met somebody, or through a friend had the possibility to work for British Vogue, and then he immediately said, okay, that's it. Now I found what I wanted. And music videos were only an idea of becoming a filmmaker later, but he never went that path. So becoming a filmmaker was not an issue anymore when he found the photography for himself, like fashion photography mainly.
Okay. As I understood from the beginning, that you have been very, very lucky as having been somebody who was taken to museums and to see art a lot as a young child. But let's say you're somebody, and we have a lot of young people like that in Estonia who are growing up in very small villages where they don't have any art, basically, but they might have, as a young person, as a teenager, for example, a lot of wishes to be involved in art and to see art and to maybe do art someday. How would you say that a child like that, like where should one start if they feel like I've never seen anything, I've never experienced anything, like how can I even start to understand what art is about?
Books. Go to the next library. Work through the art section there. Read it.
What is the first book that you remember that had an effect on you?
Probably, I mean, for art, it was.
It can be. It doesn't have to be art. It can be anything.
I remember that Malik Sidibe book was something that I really liked. He was an African photographer doing those in the 60s, those crazy studio photos of really chic people dancing, and I don't know if you.
No, I don't know if
okay.
I've seen those. No.
That was one of the first photo books that I remember really liking, and for art as art books, I mean, I loved Gauguin, you know. Those the paradises and the colors, and this is something that was on my mind. Well, still, I guess color is something that I really like. But also in photography, especially in photography, and this is something that also came to life very late. You know, that artists used color photography as a way to express themselves. And before, art was in photography only dealing with black and white photography. So this is something that Miles, I mean, you see only like 2 images upstairs in black and white. The rest is all color, and the craziest color. You know, like he still photographs analog. And
oh, really?
Yes, and the Kodak colors and the whole spectrum is something that is really, really important for his work. And I believe it is the climate of the climax of all color photography that can be.
I did not expect that he was. I did not know that he was shooting on film. That's wonderful. Can you name a book of fiction that you remember affecting you as a young person?
Fiction?
Yeah.
You mean like Plato's Faust?
Yeah,
Plato and Faust by Goethe.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, that's good. That's also one of my favorites. That's wonderful. Okay, we have just a few minutes left. I'll ask you a few more questions, and then we're out. What do you think of the beauty standards today? Like, 'cause this is obviously also something that we see a lot in Miles Aldridge's work. Like, it's very it's very sexual in a way. And do you feel like we had this beautiful artist by the name of Vincent Peters? I'm sure you're aware of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
I curated shows for him too.
Yes, and he said so many beautiful things about the way that we see beauty nowadays. And so again, I don't have a specific question, but just is it something that is it something healthy that we're striving towards, or is it something perverse that we're trying to show? Is it like what? How would you describe the beauty standards that we have today, especially regarding women, obviously, because that's more the topic here?
I guess we really have to be careful defining beauty, and beauty, of course, is in the eye of the beholder. It was always like that. Beauty was so different during the history Every society, every time, every country has a different way of seeing beauty. So what we're having now with all the the optimize ideas, we should be really careful not to overdo it.
Yeah, there is a very interesting trends among like Gen Z especially, which is called looks maxing. I don't know if you've heard about it. Have you
No.
heard about it? No. Well, looks maxing is something that when basically you're trying to take your body, whether you're a male or female, but like both do it, and you're trying to make yourself look as maximally either male or female as possible. And you can do that by removing fat from those areas so your jaw appears bigger. You can do it with implants. You can do it like there are so many different things that like people who are 16, 17, 18 are already doing. You can do it by taking like very hard objects and you can like scrape your bones from here and here and here so that the bones will start growing like scar tissue, so you like your facial features will get stronger. So this is something that is that has become very, very prevalent in the last few years.
Yeah, not good.
Okay, two more questions. First of all, is there anything that you would like to mention again if people are going to see Miles Aldridge, something to keep in mind, something to look out for, something to think about?
Yes. If you stand before a Miles Aldridge picture, look at the details. There are so many details. He thinks of every little detail, like what kind of wine is spilled on the floor, what kind of food you see in the background, or what color of the lipstick is on the cigarette. Look at the details. They tell a really big fiction story.
Beautiful. And what is inspiring and motivating you at the moment the most in life in general?
Every day is something new. Every day, a new project, a new idea, a new picture, a new way of seeing life. So that drives me. That's a continuous coming something new.
Nadine Barth, thank you very, very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Ja suur-suur aitäh kõikidele vaatamast.